What's up, everybody? Bandit Chad here with a special guest.
I'm Chuck. I do stuff.
Yeah, we're actually referring to the truck, but Chuck's fine too. So you may be able to figure out from the TED headliner, the red seats, and the fact that my truck is behind me, we are not currently in my truck. And that is because we are currently in a buddy of mine's truck. So this is an SR5 double cab long bed, and with all sorts of extensive modifications done to it. And we'll do a walk around video here real quick, but we'll get started here by taking a little drive, and I'll tell y'all what we think. So the first thing that stands out while you're inside is all of this red interior. Now, you know, that's not a very common option, but you know, this truck does have it, and it is a factory option. The paint color is the Barcelona red as well, and with this red interior, it does have a really nice look to it. Now, also with the SR5, you do have the different head unit, and we were just playing around with it a little bit, and it does seem to have most of the same functions that the standard head unit has that we have in our trucks, you know, for the TRD truck. However, the screen is a little bit smaller here in this SR5 and everything else. Now, it is really apparent that this truck is a good bit bigger while you're behind the wheel of it. So we are rolling on 35s. We do have quite a bit of a lift kit here, but honestly, it's not rolling too different than my truck. You know, it is a little bit louder, and you may be able to hear a little bit of the tire whine, but overall, it's not too bad. Would you say?
No, not at all. No, this is a nice place to be.
One thing that the owner tells me is a big difference is the fuel economy. However, you know, in my truck that you can see back there, I have been getting around 20 miles to the gallon. You know, maybe 19.8, 19.9, even up to 21. But, you know, somewhere in there between the trails have been hitting, the commute back and forth to school, and, you know, just trucking up and down the interstate. Here, however, I'm looking at the average fuel economy right in front of me. It says 15.1. So, you know, about a 20 to 25% difference. And, you know, that's a pretty big difference. And the owner did fill up this morning and come down the road this morning. So that is what he got, pretty much all highway, which I think is pretty interesting. Now, I got to tell you, this is a lot of fun. You know, I am normally used to driving a truck at, you know, stock ride height. I've driven Chad's truck. You know, most stock Tacomas ride more or less the same. You know, it might feel a little bit different with the shocks, but this truck is a lot of fun. You know, sitting up here, it does remind me of the lifted vehicles that I've had in the past, but it just gives you a really nice commanding view of the road. You know, people talk about all the time how, you know, lifted vehicles have to ride like crap and everything else. Really, to be honest with you, this truck doesn't ride bad at all. You know, you might want to slow down a little bit more when you pitch it into a turn or something like that, and it might take a little bit more pedal travel before it, you know, really picks up speed or really slows down in a hurry. But it definitely is a lot of fun riding in this truck. And the Jeeps and everything else that I've had in the past that were lifted, when you start to go around a turn, you know, the traction control would cut on, and you know, it was just kind of frustrating to drive. You know, here we're not flying by any means, but you know, we're going at a decent speed, going around some of these turns, and that's one way. And you know, traction control hadn't cut on at all, and it's riding just fine. And this just goes to prove the point. You know, we were talking about in one of the other videos, this really provides a great platform to modify. You know, a lot of people are happy with these trucks from the factory, but a lot of people really are looking for something more, and really this is just fine. So we're here beside my TRD off-road, and more or less this is what every single new third-gen truck looks like from the factory. Now, with these TRD off-roads, you do have you know, probably a different braking system to account for that crawl control, and also a Bilstein 4600 instead of your standard TRD shocks. But more or less this is what it all looks like. Now, keep all this in mind, and we're going to look at a different truck. Now, this is the truck we're going to be looking at today, and what this is an SR5 double cab long bed, and it does have quite a bit of suspension work done up here in the front as well as in the back. Now, what we're looking at here is a rough country 4-inch lift kit, and this is a lot more than just what it would be standard with just, you know, a 2 or 3-inch leveling kit. You know, generally with those, all you're doing is adding a spacer up here above your coilover, but this really has a lot more done. As you can see, it has a lot more beefy components here, which should help strengthen it and be better both on and off-road. Now, one thing you'll notice with a lot of these leveling kits, as they call them, is you'll get this spacer up front here right above your coilover but that's pretty much it on a lot of kits. Now this does have a little bit more to really allow the suspension components to travel a good bit more.
No, you're right. Even the 2-inch, the 3-inch kits, you'll just get pretty much this. You might get a sway bar relocation because of the size, but the difference in the 4-inch, and when I was originally looking at it, the 3-inch kit was, let's call it $300, but then you take a massive jump in price to $1,000, and I wanted to see, well, what's the difference between a 3 and a 4? What's worth the $700? What's there? And what I saw, just 1-inch. What I saw, you get the new rear cross member, you get the skid plates, you get the drop brackets, you get the new control, the new steering knuckle up through here. You get a lot more. And what that was telling me with these 3rd gen Tacomas, and I even believe the 2nd gen are the same way because it's pretty much the same setup. 3 inches are absolute max. You go above and beyond that, you're really putting stress and strain on a lot of components. And as we showed before, the steering angles and my driveline components are as flat as Taco Bandits. They kept the steering geometry pretty much the same. After installing this kit, the only problem I had is I had to get in alignment. I had to drive 15 miles or so, and my vehicle stability control and traction control was on because, well, my steering wheel was like this, but my car was going this, so my computer went, "Ah!" and didn't understand what was going on.
Right, and like you were saying, this does come with a lot more components. And, you know, if you're just keeping this truck on road, it may not be such an issue, you know, if you do just go with the 3-inch spacer as we were talking about. But with the 4-inch and all these extra components, it does make your truck a lot more competent. You know, you do have more wheel travel, and if you would just go with the 3-inch kit, you're not going to have any wheel extension. You know, you may be able to tuck it a little bit more, but there's not going to be any wheel extension, which really cuts down on your articulation. So we're here under Chuck's truck looking at some of the modifications he had to do to install this lift kit.
Okay, so as you can see right over through here, there's a big chunk, big section of my rear cross member missing. That's because, well, I had to take a Sawzall to it, cut here, and then the transfer case had to drop down. You could see where the transfer case would actually interfere with the factory cross member here. The Rough Country does give you a really big, beefy new rear cross member that actually bolts up into the old factory location where the cam bolts are for your steering, so it drops everything down to keep factory geometry. Everything on this I was really, really impressed with. Once I got to this point, it was really the point of no return. I will have a video up in about a week or so you could see this. It's a little nerve-wracking taking a Sawzall to your truck. You know, I don't recommend it to everyone, but again, if you're crazy enough to do it, just go ahead and do it. You'll love the results. After everything was all said and done, that leaves raw exposed steel. That's all this says. And, well, with the Tacoma frame rod issue, everything else, you know, Toyota's been taking care of the customers that they can. I'm really not worried about that because I actually went to AutoZone, or was it Pet Boys, or some auto store, Advanced Pet Boy Zone, whatever, and got myself some spray and bed liner and sprayed the hell out of all this. So it is sealed. I'm not worried about rust or rot, and I'll just check it periodically every once in a while to get everything taken care of.
So here's a look at the back axle, and it's more or less like the majority of the lift kits that are out on the market. So, you know, you get those lift blocks, you get the little bit longer travel shock there, and you get new U-bolts, and more or less you just replace the factory U-bolts and put that lift block there in between, and then replace your factory shocks for a little bit more travel there in the rear. So here, looking at the factory wheels here on the TRD Off-Road. Now these are 16s. Depending on which trim level of the Tacoma you get, you will get different sizes of the wheels, but more or less they do all come with the same size tire, at least here for the TRD models. And basically what you're looking at here is a 265/70 R16, which means it's more or less a 31-inch tire with a 16-inch wheel, and you're looking at about 8 inches wide for the tread here. Now you do have something considerably sizable and a good bit heavier, right?
Oh yeah. I have a 305/60 R18 on a fuel assault rim. I want to. Well, you picked up the tire before. We're gonna say about 30 pounds heavier, easy.
At least, yeah.
Okay, but it's a taller tire. But then, you know, I'm a little bit wider. You know, from the width, not length, the tread width is about 10 inches altogether versus 8 inches over there. But if you go sidewall to sidewall, it's about 12 and a half from sidewall to sidewall. Now going down, my wheels do stick out just slightly past the fender flares, the factory fender flares, which basically means the truck's illegal.
Right, and not all of that lift that you were talking about from the actual suspension lift is making your truck taller. You know, as you can see, if you put both of these side by side, you're actually getting a good bit more height just out of the tires themselves too.
What modifications have you done to the truck? Can you just walk us through some of them?
Absolutely. The obvious, the TRD Pro grill, the SR5 grill just really wasn't doing it for me.
Right.
My headlights, I'll turn them on in a minute. I do have HID headlights. I have LED fog lights.
Okay.
What you don't see here, there used to be, Toyota emblem on the SR5. I do have the Knox Lux blackout badge kit.
Okay.
They're the overlays that go over everything, fit really nice. You can see on the side the Tacoma emblem, the SR5 emblem, the 4x4, the V6 in the back, really nice. Now what you don't see is actually a little hidden back here. I have the Cali raised LED light bar, 31 inch, I believe, 31 or 32, I can't remember off the top of my head. Okay. Now, back in the back of the truck, just like this, editing magic.
Yeah.
In the back of the truck, again, the blackout badges on this, I do have, this looks like a soft tonneau cover, but it is a hard tonneau cover. It's a Trail FX tonneau cover I got when I bought the vehicle. Now, inside here, besides my jack, I do have a safe. It's Tuffy Safe Company or something like that. It's not just like the locking one that Bandit has. This actually goes down inside the fender, and I have about that much clearance. I have all my tie downs, I have my trailer hitch, I have a tow rope, I have a whole bunch of stuff in here. If you give me a second. You can see the amount of stuff that I can pull out of this is pretty amazing. I still got more in there.
Wow. Yeah, that's a nice upgrade for sure.
I like it.
Yeah.
The other thing I have back here, I highly recommend anyone with basically any kind of car, the backup lights. As you get older, your night sight goes away. I have backup lights, the LED backup lights, the brightest ones I could find. And then I also have LED tag lights or license plate lights, depending on what part of the country you're from. What really great company I was dealing with.
And about how many hours would you say you've put into just upgrades that you've done yourself? I mean, I know you've done everything yourself, but how long do you think man hours you've put into it?
Physical man hours on the lift alone, the instructions claim 6 to 8 hours. I'm easily 16 hours into that. I have the raw footage to prove that.
Right.
And that's because it was just me by myself, and I was on a lift at the time.
Right.
And I laid everything out, and it was basically me taking my time.
Okay.
As far as the lighting, probably an hour in the front for the headlights, fog lights, the LED bar, probably about the same. The grill in the front, that's a 15-20 minute process. It's probably easy.
So one thing we have gotten a lot of questions about is if you want to mount an LED light bar here in the front, what's the best option to do that? But you seem to have that pretty well figured out, right?
Yeah, I went through a company, Cali Raised LED. Again, another really great company. This was actually one of the first things I've done. I have the 4D LED light bar. It comes with the brackets, comes with a light bar, comes with a switch, comes with the wiring. It's a really complete kit. Now, the air diverter right here, I did have to cut. I'm not sure if you can see. I did have to cut right through here. This is the bracket that actually goes onto the factory bumper. Use the factory bolts, factory bolt locations. It just slides over, bolts everything in, and the light bar mounts right into here. The only thing you have to do is you do have to remove remove this bolt on the transcooler right here, just to get out of the way, so you could slide the LED bar in from this side. It comes pre-wired. Everything will then just run right up through the side, and you just wire it right up to the battery, and you run the wire into the cabin itself. The switch that they give you, I didn't like. I have a micro-tune switch that actually goes into one of the factory cutouts, so it looks like a factory switch, and I'll show you that in a second. Now, as I was saying, this was the factory switch I was talking about. It is hot wired, so I can turn it on and off at any point in time, and it floods everything out through in front of me. Obviously, it's daylight out, so you really can't see too much or anything at all, but trust me, it's really bright.
Alrighty, so we are in the truck here to wrap up this video. The rain is coming in pretty hot and heavy right now, but we really appreciate you coming down and showing off your truck and letting us take a spin in it. We had a great time.
I did too. I appreciate it. Now, if you guys like this truck, I will extend an offer to you. I have a blue 2017 Crew Max supercharged Tundra rolling 35s on a 6-inch lift that if you guys want to come down and check it out, one condition, you have to do a burnout on it.
I think that can probably be arranged.
We can do that.
Okay, come down to Maryland and I'll see you down there.
Right.
Sounds great. So if you do like his style and his content and everything else, you do have a YouTube channel of your own, correct?
Yes, I just started it up. It's called Chuck Does Stuff. I'd be surprised if you can find it. I have 2 videos on there as of today. I will have what we're doing, the behind the scenes stuff of what we're doing today. I'll have that up later. You guys will probably have this up later than me, but you guys are probably going to see this first before my stuff because, well, I have like 2 subscribers. So I'm sure you guys can help me out with that a little bit.
Hopefully.
So I have 3 and 4 right here.
Right, right. So definitely send some love his way. Be sure and hit those like and subscribe buttons, and we'll hopefully help get your YouTube channel started as well. But thank you all for joining us today. Have a fantastic week, everybody. We'll catch you next time.